Hello everybody, welcome back to Space Pickle Designs. If you'd like to see my thoughts and an unboxing of Sam's bead box for the month of March 2023, named Beauty of Time, then just keep on watching. Okay, so let's start off with the strands, and we get quite a bit of strands here. This is what they look like. We're looking like a green and copper theme, which is right up my alley. Copper is my favorite metal tone and green is my favorite color, so this box was essentially made for me, just saying. So let's zoom in and take a look at these strands. All right, the first one is a check glass fire polish faceted round, and this is copper crystal, 8mm, and there's 20 pieces here. Super sparkly. I love these so much. They're pretty simple, and I think they would go with a lot of things, but they're still just so sparkly and nice. And I think they would catch people's eyes regardless without being like a super loud color. Next up is the Check Glass Starburst Oval Green Turquoise Copper Mix, or not mix, just copper wash, 11 by 13mm. And look at that copper wash, wow. They look great with these. Next up is the Check Glass Druk Round Mint Silk Teal Opal Mix, 8mm, and you get 20 pieces. And here's what they all look like. Next we have another Druk here, and this is Mint Opal Clear Crystal Mix. And these are actually 4mm, and there's 80 pieces on here. So they are just slightly different from these, but they definitely coordinate. Next up is Check Glass Petal Leaf Copper Crystal, and these are 9 by 12mm, and there's a 10-piece strand, but you can also see that there are what looks to be Druks in a copper color in between there, so you can definitely use those. So let's compare them to the copper here. A very good match. Next up is an English cut copper crystal 3.5mm 50-piece strand. And they almost look, yeah, they look a little etched. So I don't know if they are, but they look etched a little bit. So I'll bring those up. All right. Our gemstone strand here is a grade A preonite round, 8mm, and this is a 7-inch strand. And these are beautiful. I love the inclusions, especially these 3 right here. Wow, those are beautiful. Next up is a lava stone round dyed brown mint green mix, 8mm, and this is a 9-inch strand. So I like there's 2 colors to choose from there. Last one is a Check Glass Saucer Picasso window, and this is 2.5 by 6mm, and this is a 50-piece strand. And these are cute little saucer beads in like a tortoise looking color, like a Picasso, like it says. So all these together, let's just pile them on up here. These are the strands. So those are very well curated. I'm really loving these copper, this copper wash on this bead, but I really think that these two are probably my favorite so far. All right, next up is Check Glass Starburst Coin Rustic Picasso Copper, 18mm in a 5-piece set, and these are absolutely gorgeous. They just look like relics. That's why I like Check Glass. They're just so cool to look at. Here's those against those copper beads. Next, we have a Check Glass Carved Bicone Crystal Bronze Luster, 8mm, and there's 10 pieces here. And again, these are really nice. These do remind me of vintage beads. Beautiful. Okay, I think this is one of my favorites so far. Check Glass Heart Leaf Crystal Clear Copper, and these are simple, but like, they're just so cute. Little heart leaves. And the copper wash, and again with those copper beads, wow, they're so cute. The texture on them is great. We have a check glass table cut spiral square, rustic mint silk Picasso 9mm, and there's 7 pieces here. And I love these. I love the color. I love the shape. They are perfect. They're so pretty. Next selection is a check glass lentil, green white stone Picasso, 9mm. There's about 18 pieces here. And you gotta love a good lentil bead. As you can see, the hole's right on the top, so you can actually use them kind of like brios. Little embellishments. I like to put these at the end of fringe. And I love that wash on them. The Picasso is really emphasized on these big flat lentil beads. Next selection is a check glass bicone green Picasso luster, 8mm, and this is 10 grams. And this is such a unique color. It's definitely green, but the luster gives it like a purple sheen, like an amethyst sheen. I don't know if that helps the color at all, but in person you can definitely see the green. It's kind of hard to pick that up on camera though, but that is a very unique color. Ooh, these are some real cuties. These are check glass sailboat medallions, rustic Picasso mint, 19.5mm and 2-piece set. And look at those. I don't think I've ever seen these. I wonder if they are a new shape. It almost, I mean, it, you know, like a little sailboat, kind of reminds me of like Old Spice, like the old Spice. But yeah, I'm loving it. I love those. They're so cute. I love the little border detailing. It almost looks like a rope detailing. Some more preonite here, faceted irregular tubes, 6x9 by 11mm, and there's or 9 to 11mm, and there's 10 pieces here. And look at those. This is why gemstones are so cool and why I need to stay away from them. I just need to stick with the old pressed glass or whatever, because this is the type of stuff that gets you in trouble, because they're just so beautiful you can't live without them. So I'm definitely excited to work with these puppies. Next up are some check glass smooth ovals, green Picasso luster. And again, it's that same color, and I think these might show the color off a little better. Can't quite tell through the monitor here, but in my hand they do look a lot more green, but they definitely match. So let me just get some of the bicones in here. They definitely are the same color. It's just in person it's a little bit easier to see the green on these ovals, but those are lovely. They're so juicy. I accidentally missed these earlier in the list, but these are check glass rustic table cut squares, mint silk Picasso, 15mm, and you get 3 of those. And these are stunning. They remind me of old, like old glass, like drinkware, or like Fire King, like dishware and cookingware. But those are lovely. Last but not least is this Verdigris collection made in Greece. They're lead free, and you get the 2 pieces of chandelier findings. You get 2 connectors, this really super cool button, and this 2-hole, it's almost like a slider bead. Let's see what they call it. 2-hole bead, but it's almost like a slider. So wow, look at the detailing on that. This is the type of like antiquing that you wish you could replicate, but this is like too perfect. These are awesome. It looks like you like found this at the bottom of the ocean or something. Well, this is Sam's bead box for the month of March, and I have 0 complaints. I like every single item, and yeah, I basically think I'm still convinced that this was made for me. He doesn't know me, but pretty much we know each other now because he just created my favorite box. So let's make a pair of earrings real quick. Let me clean all this up and I will come up with a design and we'll be right back. So this is the earring design that we're going to be making, and as you can see, it is using a soft flex bead wire here, and I'm going to use the fluorite color. So let's get started. I took about almost a 6-inch piece of the soft flex, and I took those saucer spacers. I took 5 of those, and then I put the English cut, 4 of those copper English cut in between. So you're ending on a saucer on each side. So you want to make sure that your ends are matching. And don't worry too much about this dangling part down here just yet, but we want to try and feed these both ends through this coin bead here. And this might take some finagling, but it's good if it's a little tight because it'll make sure that your bead is going to stay in the place that you want it to. And so I like to push it down just a little bit more than what it's actually going to be like, because that gives us room to crimp, and then we can pull the bead up. So I'm just kind of measuring to see here. So I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter than I want it to eventually be. And then the only thing I added from my stash was this little copper spacer bead, and I'm going to put those over both strands, and then one of these really cool mint beads on both. And then we're gonna put our crimp tube, and this is a soft flex crimp tube. Now this is a copper one, and I've found that the copper ones are a little bit thicker, so this next step is going to be a little tricky, but you're gonna take one of these strands and feed it back down through this crimp bead, and it's gonna be a little tight, but just work with it and you will get there. Okay, as you can see, my wire is coming out of the bottom of that crimp tube right there. So I'm just gonna take some small pliers here, some fine pliers, and I'm gonna pull on that string while I'm holding the crimp tube. And I just wanna make sure I'm making that, it's making the loop smaller, right? So at this point, you can kind of judge the height of where you want or where you need the crimp tube to be. So I need that crimp tube to come way down, as you can see. You're just trying to match the height at this point and location of the crimp bead, because the other parts we can just adjust at the end. So what we're gonna wanna do, we'll hold this little portion lightly, and let's take these pliers. These are magic crimpers, but I'm not gonna bend down on them. I'm gonna try to move the crimp tube. And let's see if that matches. Still needs to come down just a little bit. All right, I think we're good there. So we're just judging the height again of that crimp tube. At this point, I'm gonna keep my thumb on the crimp tube, and I'm gonna pull down on this one to make that loop smaller. And with a lot of these soft flex projects, you just need to be patient and go back and forth. So I think we're looking pretty good here. I'm gonna bring that tube down just a little bit more. There, I think that should be about perfect. I'm gonna measure my loops. Yep, I need to make this one a little bit smaller. And that. Okay, I think we're looking good. One last little check here. All right, so before we crimp, we want to make sure that the soft flex is kind of like sitting in the right direction. So you want your loop to be flat right here so that this whole thing will lay correctly when you put your ear wire on. So we're keeping these strings straight as possible. We don't want them cocked off to the side, because that'll make your loop go a little bit on either direction depending on what side it's leaning. So what we're gonna do now is take the magic crimpers, or you can take your regular crimpers, but I'm gonna take the magic crimpers because I don't want to use some crimp cover. And I'm settling into the channel here, as you can see. I'm gonna crimp once and make the little ravioli. It's a little 4-corner ravioli. I'm gonna turn 180 degrees, crimp down again, and then I'm just gonna take little bites around so it makes those tiny adjustments and rounds out the corners of that little copper bead there. And this is what the little copper bead looks like. So it's a lovely decorative touch. So now I'm just gonna take my cutters and I'm gonna cut as close as possible to that bead for each strand. Okay, at this point, I want my mint beads in the top, the spacer, and this coin bead to lay flush against the soft flex bead there, the crimp tube that we just made, the bead out of the crimp tube. We're just gonna put this ear wire on. I chose a bright copper one. Just make sure that's in place. And here are your earrings. So using the soft flex color is going to be a really nice touch to this box, I think. But these are your earrings. You can position your bead accordingly because it's pretty snug in there, so you can make sure like what color of the bead you want facing forward. You can have it like that or like this, depending on what look you're going for. And so I hope you like this project. Maybe I'll make a couple more. I really do love this box. Let me know down below what you thought about this month's box and what you've already made. And until the next one, guys, I hope you're staying safe and well. See ya.